Hi, today I'd like to show you how to use mattress stitch to seam together two pieces of brioche fabric. My favorite trick for doing this is to leave an extra long cast-on tail or to spit splice an extra length of yarn onto your cast-on tail and use this for seaming. This allows you to have fewer ends you have to weave in at the end, and we all like having fewer ends to weave in. I'm going to use a contrasting color of yarn today to do my seaming, just to make it a little bit more visible for you. The first thing that we need to do is set up by inserting our needle from back to front under the first stitch on each piece of fabric, working between the selvage edge and the first column of stitches. If you're not using your cast-on tail, make sure to leave a tail there to weave in at the end. Okay. So now we always want to insert our needle in the same spot where it came out of the fabric the time before. And I'm trying to pick up 2 bars each time, one of each color, so one pink and one green, and I'm trying to pick up the bar of yarn as it comes between the selvage stitch and this column of bark stitches. And I want to do the same thing on the other edge. Now, based on the way I handle my selvage edges, I tend to get these clusters of 4 pieces of yarn crisscrossing each other. And so I need to separate out this one pink and just one of the 2 greens without picking up the other pink or splitting it. There we go. And work into the middle of that cluster. And then I repeat that on the other side. Now, based on how I work my edges, I only get those clusters on one side and not the other side. If you work your edges differently than I do, you may have a different arrangement of edge stitches and how those bars look than what you're seeing here. But always just make sure you are staying between the selvage edge and the next stitch in, and that you're picking up one strand of each color of yarn as you seam. My needle popped off my yarn. Okay, so let's do a few more stitches to practice that. I'm going to go behind one pink and one green. Now, if you're having trouble seeing which strands of yarn to use, I recommend pulling your selvage away from the next column. That helps elongate out those bars and lets you see what you're trying to pick up and helps you make sure that you're picking up the right pieces of yarn and not the yarn involved in the stitch to either side. Now, as you can see, often the pink and the green bars that I'm working on, that I'm picking up, are crossed. That may or may not happen depending on how you've knit your edges, but that's not unusual to see. So you may need to work into crossed pieces of yarn. So now that I've done a few stitches, we can give the yarn a bit of a tug and tighten up that seam. Now, depending on what kind of yarn you're using, if you're using a more delicate yarn like a single ply or a woolen spun, you may need to be more cautious as you tighten up your seams so that you don't break your yarn. Here we go. We'll just continue to seam up the rest of this edge so that you can see what the finished fabric will look like. All right, so I'm almost finished here. And if you've been consistently picking up the same 2 bars on each side, you should be picking up the same number of rows and seaming it together evenly so that your 2 pieces of fabric will be seamed together in an even way, and you'll finish up all of your rows at the same time on both pieces. You can see that that has happened here. So I am done. We'll give this one last pull to cinch up the seam. And I now have one continuous piece of brioche fabric with a purl ridge in between two, or a purl valley in between 2 knit ridges. And on the other side, we have our seam. I hope this helps you understand how to put together 2 pieces of brioche fabric and be able to make seamed garments. Thank you for watching.